Good afternoon, viewers. I'm on the road today, and I thought I would do a follow-up video. I'm currently towing my 19-foot Sea Ray back here, and I wanted to make a video about, I think it's a common topic, but an important one, which is general trailer maintenance. I know we've all been there, and I would like to think that I've been towing trailers now most of my adult licensed life. So ever since I've had a driver's license, I've been towing trailers. My dad taught me how to tow a trailer when I was young, starting with a boat, and I've towed various, boats and campers throughout my whole life. And I wish I could say that I've learned my lessons. And I think for those of you that are out there that have been towing a long time, I think a lot of people would tend to agree. We don't always do the things that keep us out of trouble. And I wish I could say that I always did the things that keep me out of towing, trouble. In other words, having issues with the trailers. And I think part of the problem is, it's just, we get busy, we got a lot of things going on, and you think you're good and maybe you're not. And the example I'll bring up is we towed the boat down to Lake of the Ozarks last year. And it was I'd had the boat about 3 years. It's a 2018, so this was, 2022 when we went down. So we'll call it 4 years. And I think the general consensus is you need, there's dates on the tires, and you need to replace the tires at least every, I believe, 3 years is the, the recommended, interval time. And I thought, I would be good with one more trip for that year. I think I had, the first year we didn't really use the boat a lot, and we generally haven't towed it a ton of miles. We've brought it up to Minnesota here or there, but we generally stay in Wisconsin. And I know mileage for the tires isn't necessarily the barometer of when you should change them. I realize that it's date driven, but I thought I just almost hit a deer on the interstate. That's crazy. Anyways, sorry for the emergency there. You don't see too many deer in Wisconsin in the middle of the day. I mean, it's afternoon, it's 6 o'clock, I guess, so it's not middle of the day, it's getting towards evening, but even then, I don't see a lot of deer on the interstate during daylight hours. So anyways, back to my story. So, I generally think, it's one of those things where you maybe, and it was just a perfect example of me, I thought maybe I could get one more, we'll do one more trip. We went to the Lake of the Ozarks. I used Bearing Buddies on the trailer. I didn't think, I didn't think we'd have an issue with the grease. And, we don't have, like I said, we haven't put a ton of miles on the trailer. And I had greased the bearings, adequately before the trip. So, and we didn't have any bearing issues, fortunately. However, on this trip down to the Lake of the Ozarks last summer, on the way back, we had noticed a vibration on the passenger side tire, and at first we thought it was just the fender, maybe it had come loose. But then as we looked into it more, and it seemed like the whole trailer was shaking more than it should, and we could feel a vibration actually in the vehicle. So we pull over. Sure as heck, one of the passenger tire was beginning to basically, delaminate from the tire. Now, fortunately, we didn't get a blowout. And that's one of the big things, I think, when we're thinking about maintenance. Whether you're an experienced, person that's been, towing trailers, or you're a beginner, or maybe especially if you're a beginner, is you really need to stay on the maintenance and the maintenance cycles. You need to know when and how old your tires are, and change out those tires on those date intervals religiously, and have the bearings repacked. Now there's some there's some definite questions about how often you should repack bearings. If you're not driving a lot of miles and you're just, making a couple mile trip down the lake every once in a while, you could probably go 5 to 10 years or more not having to repack those bearings. If you're making longer trips, especially in an environment that's hot, maybe you need to repack those bearings every other year, or, to feel safe. So this trailer, I'm actually bringing it back from getting the bearings repacked, and I'm at going on 5 years. So, and like I said, we haven't taken it across country. I don't think a lot of people take their boats across the country anyways. But we've made some trips to the Lake of the Ozarks and up northern Minnesota, and I'm in central Wisconsin, so forgive the vibrations here, but this part of the interstate is horrendous. And I felt it was definitely an appropriate time, even with using the Bearing Buddies. And Bearing Buddies is, I think, a whole nother argument. We used to have them when I was a kid. I think it's nice on a boat because the boat is getting dipped in and out of the water. I think it's nice to be able to pump some fresh grease into those bearings. I think it may push any moisture out the front of the Bearing Buddy. I think you have to be careful not to blow out the back seal. And I think some people would argue maybe you shouldn't even use a Bearing Buddy. But I've in general had good luck with them. Like I said, I went 4 years on a set of bearings, and I religiously do pack the bearings with the Bearing Buddy to make sure that I'm keeping condensation out of there and keeping fresh grease in the bearings. But that's up for argument or debate, and I'm welcome to comments in the comment section from the viewers to see what you think, whether or not you use the Bearing Buddies, which are basically they have the grease fitting and you can pump bearing into them. I would never use that on a travel trailer or a fifth wheel. You're not dipping those in the water like you are with this boat trailer or any boat trailer. So I think there's some differences there, but in general, I've been a fan of them, and like I said, I've gone a long time without having to pack the bearings on this. But this trip, we haven't had the boat out yet this year. It's June 11th here in Wisconsin, and we've just been busy with graduation parties and all kinds of other things going on. But I thought to get a fresh start to this year, put new bearings on and also a brand new set of tires, given I had one of the tires fail on that last trip. The tires that were on it were D-rated tires, and I went ahead, because it's a single axle trailer and it's a 3,500 pound boat, I felt I do see some people with this boat with tandem axle trailers. So I went ahead and went with E-rated tires, and that would give me a little bit more, make a little bit heavier duty tire, a little bit heavier sidewall on the E-rated tires. And the tire shop, I went with their recommendations. They thought for sure it wouldn't hurt. Obviously, it's a heavier duty tire, and given it's a single axle trailer, it would be better to go with a higher load. I did swap out, of course, the spare tire as well. I think that's important. I think a lot of people get the main tires swapped and they keep the spares, and I think it's important. And I used to do the same thing, to be honest. What do I need a spare tire for? It's never been used. But I think it's important to go by the date rating on the tires, not how much they've been used. So I did go ahead and get a brand new, and obviously the spare that we had on here was the faulty tire anyways. But even if it hadn't been, I would have replaced that spare. I mean, some people even rotate one of the other tires to the spare and just get 2 new tires. I just think the extra 100, the tires for this, I like Carlisle tires. People could argue brands all day long. I know some people are, fans of the Goodyear tires for trailer tires and some other brands, but I've honestly had the last 3 to 4 years, I've been, whenever I get tires for any of my trailers, I stick with Carlisle trailer tires. I've never had a Carlisle blowout. The tires that were on this trailer were, I actually forgot the brand of them. They were like Trailer King or something, and I replaced them with Carlisle. So that tire that did blow out was not a Carlisle tire. So I think, I just wanted to make a quick video because I'm on this trip. The tire place that I go to is about a half hour away, just because I get really good service from them, and I like that shop, and I've been loyal to it. And I think it's once again, it's important to keep up with the maintenance, regularly get the bearings repacked. And I don't do it myself. It's just not something I'm comfortable doing. I'm sure I can do it, but I'm sorry I have to keep readjusting the camera. It's just this stretch of the interstate is bouncy, and my phone holder just isn't up to the task. Anyways, to summarize, keep up with the maintenance. If you have brakes, they did check the brakes for me. They said nothing was needed. It's a hydraulic brake on this trailer. They're not electric brakes. They said no maintenance was needed at this time. Got all the tires replaced, got the bearings repacked. I really think I'll probably be good for about 3 years. The next scheduled, or whatever this, if those tires were made a year ago, maybe I'll do it a little sooner, but I'll think I'll be comfortable with 3 years on these tires. The bearings just depends on how often, how much mileage we're putting on them. Once again, it's a boat. It's getting pulled in and out of lakes and water, and I think that tends to cause boat trailer bearings to fail a little earlier than other trailers that aren't, being dipped in and out of the water. And then it just depends on the mileage. I don't anticipate us putting on a lot of miles this year on the boat. We're only going to make a couple trips with it. There'll be one of the trips is 6-7 hours. So, it's a longer trip for us with the boat. But I would say if you're, and honestly, it doesn't cost a whole lot. I mean, in the grand scheme of the cost it takes to have a failure, a tire, usually when you lose a tire, you're losing a fender. You're getting damage to the boat or the trailer or whatever you're towing. And then, of course, there's just a loss of time. I really don't want a blown bearing on a vacation. And, anything can always happen. But I think you really reduce your chances if you regularly get the bearings repacked and or just replaced. I mean, it's at some point in time, I think you should just request a whole new set of bearings. And a high quality set, not, whatever China, junk some shop might put in because it's cheap. Get a high quality set of bearings every couple of repacks just to be safe. You never know, if they don't inspect the bearings real close, you could have a bearing that's starting to fail, and all it takes is your grease getting a little hot and that bearing failing, and then that metal being causing a catastrophic failure. So I'm really a fan of getting brand new bearing sets every couple changes, because it's really not that expensive. And an ounce, it's the whole ounce of prevention, saying to make sure that you're really preventing future failures. So anyways, that's all I wanted to say. I'd appreciate if you like and follow. This is, once again, I'm not in any particular series, but I'll keep making videos that I think are relevant. Thank you.